we were just talking about the 5 lies that are going around about Charlie Kirk, and it's reprehensible on what is going on, because the people who are saying these things, who are starting these things, they really need. They know. Like Stephen King, really. You really think that Stephen King? You really think that Charlie Kirk is for the stoning of gay people?
I do think, though, a lot of these people have an image of everyone on the right.
That shows how unbelievably isolated you are.
Absolutely. Now, King, in particular, I think, I don't think Stephen King was lying on that. I think he's, I don't think he's the sharpest knife in the drawer.
You gotta be. You can't write like he does.
But he's not an idiot, right? He's not like he informed thoughts. Yeah. But I think he is so completely isolated in his bubble that if someone says something terrible about a person like Charlie Kirk, and your image of him is he's basically Hitler, well, what you don't spend time fact checking it. You're like, oh, well, of course that guy's he's that terrible human being. Of course he said something like that. You don't even bother to check it. It's like, if you ran into a quote from Hitler you had never seen that was negative on Jews, you as a journalist you should probably check it. But you might think, oh yeah, that was probably true. He said a lot of things like that. That's how they think about people who are like normal conservatives who want lower taxes and less regulation. And that is really, really disturbing. So these lies are really prominent. People really believe these things.
So there's a couple of them. Here are the 5. The first one is Charlie Kirk said black people were better off in slavery. How big of an idiot do you think you have to be to believe that? Okay. I mean, unless you're Crockett, unless your last name is Crockett, and I don't mean Davy. Black Americans were better off than slavery. No, that's absolutely not true. He never said anything like that. Now, what you're probably getting this from, and I'm going searching. I mean, I am on I'm with a metal detector on the beach with board shorts and sandals and socks, looking for anything that kind of even sounds like that. But Charlie Kirk did say that, they were talking about Jim Crow and how evil Jim Crow was. But he said, but if you look at the black family, before the passage of the Civil Rights Act, which ended the Jim Crow laws, he said the family was thriving. And it was. Blacks had a lower divorce rate than whites did in, I think, 1961. Their families were stronger. Dads were in the homes. They had lower crime rates. I mean, something happened around the time of the Civil Rights Act. Now, my theory is the Civil Rights Act was done by progressives. I mean, these are the guys who said no to the Civil Rights Act just 4 years before, and worked hard to stop the Civil Rights Act. So what changed in those 4 years? The assassination of President Kennedy, that changed your mind? Not even. Johnson was the biggest racist up until he died. Why would he create the Great Society? My theory, this is just a theory, but my theory is because finally the progressives had a way to keep blacks under their thumb and destroy the family and destroy them as people. I mean, the Civil Rights Act and more of the Great Society. The Great Society did more damage to the black family than anybody could have done outside of Margaret Sanger. I think that's what he meant by that. It was evil, Jim Crow, et cetera, but if you look at the numbers on specifics, family, et cetera, blacks were doing better as families before the Great Society. And I think that undoing is absolutely tied to it. And it was intentional, myself, I believe that. Also, the next claim is that Charlie Kirk said black women have inferior intelligence. No, that's not what he said. Now, they're quoting him saying that black women don't have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. How How bad does your image have to be of people on the other side to believe that they could say that? That Charlie Kirk could say that?
I mean, just like, but if you were to, I think about this a lot of times when I think about how we react to crazy statements on the left. Like, my reaction a lot of times when I hear someone saying that is, wait a minute.
Yes.
Even if they believe that, they wouldn't just blurt it out. What is the context of this? I want to know. I want to understand. That should be your first question when you want to do a quote like that.
Go to Snopes. They rate this one true.
This is true.
They rate it absolutely true. Until you get to the last paragraph when they say, well, no, we should point out, he wasn't talking about all black women.
Okay.
He was talking about 4 specific black women.
Oh.
Okay. So he's talking about Joy Reid, absolutely true. Sheila Jackson Lee, absolutely true. Ketanji Brown Jackson Brown, absolutely true.
Well, she's not a biologist, Glenn. I mean, come on.
No, she's not. She doesn't know how to what a woman is. I'm not a biologist.
She's not a biologist.
I don't know how to do that. Yeah. And Michelle Obama, which I don't think is true. I think Michelle Obama is actually rather smart and conniving and just flat out evil.
Yeah, there's a mix there. I mean, Ketanji Brown Jackson, for all of the flaws I would have with her as a Supreme Court justice, obviously isn't a moron, but she is. I mean, I would say Sotomayor. I would be more confident in saying she's a moron. Though I am for the job that she has. Ketanji Brown Jackson is a moron. Joy Reid is a complete idiot. What was it, Sheila Jackson Lee?
Yeah.
Again, those two I think would fall into the same category. And you're right, Michelle Obama I would not call an idiot. But again, criticizing 4 members of a group does not mean you're criticizing the group.
He was criticizing people he thought were unqualified to make statements of any intelligence on whatever topic it was that he was talking about. And what they did is they said, he thinks that all black women are just dumb.
No.
I mean, that is so incredibly dishonest. Charlie Kirk said that gun deaths, unfortunately, worth it to keep the Second Amendment.
This is one I've heard actually a lot. This is one that a lot of people on the left are using as justification for their celebration. He said, well, you just got to deal with the deaths if you want to have a Second Amendment. And, I don't know if you have the context.
I have his answer right here. Ready? Mm-hmm. You will never live in a society where you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That's nonsense. It's drivel. Mm-hmm. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so you can have the Second Amendment right to protect your other God-given rights. It's a prudent deal. It is rational to think that way.
Every time, if you have a free society, you take risks with it. There will always be people, horrible, horrible human beings that all seem to donate to Democrat causes that will do things like we saw 1 week ago today. And that is, you can't speak for Charlie Kirk. He spoke for himself so eloquently. But, what occurred last week would not change his mind on that. He would not say, well, we should, now that something terrible has happened to me and my family, we should overturn the Second Amendment and people shouldn't have a right to defend themselves. That's how he would feel about it. And this is, if anything, pointing to his incredible consistency on the rights that we have in this country. It is a sad, unfortunate fact about so many things. It's a sad, unfortunate fact about automobile travel that you do have to deal with some automobile accidents when you have highways where you can drive 55, 65, 75 miles an hour. All understand that's true.
It's unreasonable to think that you could live in a society with automobiles and not have some automobile accidents.
It is absolutely true.
And that is exactly what he said about guns.
And frankly, the other thing that's important here to understand is if you did eliminate all guns, you would not eliminate all murders. Even if
they did in England.
Oh, they did. We're all set.
They're all set. There's no murder there.
Wow, I didn't realize no violent crimes there. I keep reading about them. Is that all false?
It's all false. That's Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's crazy. Last one. Charlie used an Asian slur. Now, I'm not going to use the slur, obviously. I'm just going to say it's what happens sometimes with armor. There's a very famous saying about armor that has nothing to do with the Chinese or Asian at all. But I'm not even going to put those together in this context now for you. You'll have to figure that out. But the thing that's going around is he used that slur to yell at an Asian woman in the audience. Now, again, what kind of monster or how stupid?
You should know on its face that's false.
Yeah.
You shouldn't even have to look it up. You should know that's false.
I mean, how stupid would Charlie Kirk have to be? Okay, and so there's nothing like that. Well, I'm sorry, he was screaming something at a woman when they were talking about capitalism, and he was yelling "sank." Not the other word. Okay. Sank. And who is that? From the Young Turks.
Guy from
Young
the
Turks
Young
guy.
Turks.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was. That's what he was saying.
Oh, okay. Gosh, I mean that's just so bad. Like the other one was the Stephen King situation where he quoted some horrible thing that Charlie Kirk said, and again he admitted eventually that it was false, but it was he was quoting someone else in an incident and critiquing that position,
Right.
Which was a bad position, but he was bringing it up to quote it and critique it,
Right.
which is a very standard thing that they've done on the left. I mean, this is a standard tactic of Media Matters. When you're quoting someone else or you're saying something, they'll act as if you said.
You repeat a lie often enough, and the public will remember it. Glenn Beck is quoting Hitler. Glenn Beck loves Hitler. Yeah, Hitler said that, but that's not what I was saying. It had nothing to do with the conversation. For the love of Pete.
Again, if you had something against Charlie Kirk, you wouldn't need to go to this stuff. If our opinion of Kirk, which was a guy who worked hard to debate people, who tried to practice politics and civic life the right way, who tried to be a shining light for his faith, which was vitally important to him and his family, if that vision of Charlie Kirk was false, you wouldn't need to go to these things.
No.
You could come up with 50 different things he said that were really offensive.
Yep.
Instead, what you come up with are lies because that's what you're in the business of.
And there is a problem. We now know, and we'll have more on this later today on the Charlie Kirk Show and then on tomorrow. But we now know that the Chinese and Russia are involved with disinformation campaigns based on Charlie Kirk, trying to get us to push us into civil war. And we know it for a fact now. So just be very careful what you read online and don't necessarily repeat everything that you see.